I'm standing this morning overlooking the Arkansas River. As she pans out across the Arkansas River where the Poto River runs into it, you'll see a beach over there. In 1821, the Osage Indians were living here, and Chief Bad-Tempered Buffalo came across with 4 of his warriors to ask Lieutenant Scott, Martin Scott, if they could have powder, shot, and some supplies. He turned the request down, so they floated back across the other side, and in full view of the battery of the rifle regiment that was here, they began to build rafts. And so they had about 400 warriors. When Scott saw that, he put 2 of his cannons, the one you see behind me and one other cannon, and that bluffed out the Bad-Tempered Buffalo and the Osage, who simply wanted to intimidate the Cherokee and so that they could come over and hunt on this side of the river. I think I bring that up as far as our history because everyone is fighting for rights. Everyone wants to do something else. They wanted to come across the river so they could have hunting rights over here and intimidate the Cherokee and back them up some, but they knew they had to deal with the soldiers in the fort here. And so the battle never came about, and they went on about their business. Our culture today is bluffing its way through every particular truth. For instance, we're having this gender-neutral situation. The concept of monogamous marriage is out. It's not even accepted as the norm anymore. Churches are beginning to accept gay marriage, and now the whole concept of transgenderism and being married to whoever or whatever. And so when we look at this, it's a bluff. They're running a bluff on all of our principles that we believe and hold true in our life. What are we going to do? I mean, for traditional America that holds the Judeo-Christian ethic of how life should be, we're being swamped. It's going to come into, because of the Equality Act that just passed Congress. It passed in 2019, and now it's passed again, but it was knocked down in Congress because they couldn't get the 60 votes to pass it. It's going to have a great repercussion upon churches and 501c3 companies of who you can hire and why you can hire. In schools that take federal funds, they're going to be required to allow boys to go into girls' locker rooms. And even in churches, if they decide to come into church and say, because of public accommodation, the term is called. If a church opens its doors, it's public accommodation. You're going to have to fall in line with the Equality Act. And that's why when we hear Equality Act, it sounds great. We want everyone to have equal rights. But these are not equal rights. This is protecting a Sodom and Gomorrah, protecting a sin in our nation and saying, you will accept this as the new norm. So what do? Again, we contact legislatures, we talk to school boards that if they hear any hint of such behavior, that we stop it where we can. The bluff that is being run now is that you're masking your faith, but it's actually hate speech. In fact, the article today on the cover of USA Today said this, hate speech masked as faith. So that's how we're being termed, that if we're against the Equality Act, then it's actually going to be called hate speech. And so while we look at our history across the river and down the river where these tribes were, they always had issues. There's always going to be issues and problems that we have to work out with people. But when the government turns upon mainstream America to protect the rights of a few and say, this is the new act of equality, there's something mighty, mighty wrong. This is Bob Shelton, and that's the Patriot Voice today.